We're good, boys! Let's fucking kill these cats! Here.
The Russian army suffered significant losses in the battles for the Tavria direction. The Ukrainian Defense Forces managed to destroy 19 units of military equipment and 5 ammunition depots owned by the Russian army during this period. On the previous day, military operations by the Defense Forces continued in the Tavria region. In the past 24 hours, Ukrainian forces carried out 27 attacks on Russian troop positions, for a total of 731 shots fired, including 2 missile strikes and 24 air strikes by artillery units. The Tavria Direction Defense Force reported carrying out 1,283 firing missions in the last 24-hour period, indicating intense activity in efforts to keep the region safe. During the same period, the enemy suffered heavy losses with a total of 309 soldiers recorded missing. Of these, 93 soldiers were reported killed, 208 others were injured, and 8 people were captured by Ukrainian troops. In addition to army losses, 19 units of enemy military equipment were destroyed, including 6 tanks, 8 armored fighting vehicles, 8 artillery and mortar systems, and 1 multiple launch rocket system. Ukrainian Light Brigade fighters carry out a settlement clearing mission of the Russian army. Ukrainian National Police Light Brigade Regiment safari attack showing how they cleared the settlement. This battle video shows special forces inspecting every building where Russian soldiers are hiding and exchanging fire. Footage shows that there were no buildings left in the settlement in any of the sections. This was probably a small village with some houses completely destroyed, others left without roofs and windows. Among these ruins, Russian soldiers set up their positions in the basements of their houses, perhaps hiding from artillery fire. Judging from the video, Ukrainian fighters stormed this settlement and shelled Russian positions with small arms during close combat. They also used hand grenades. According to the Interior Ministry, soldiers of the Safari Assault Regiment destroyed at least 5 Russian soldiers and more than 10 people were injured during the fighting. The Light Brigade fighters who united to carry out the attack were a paramilitary unit of the Ukrainian police that were part of the offensive guard. This is the moment a Ukrainian drone attacks an abandoned Russian soldier near Bakhmut. Drone footage from Ukraine's 30th Mechanized Brigade shows a lone Russian soldier trying to hold his ground in the vicinity of Bakhmut. The Ukrainian quadcopter drone was positioned over the Russian soldier, and as soon as the grenade was dropped, the Russian soldier heard a click and ran inside the dugout, but it was too late as the grenade landed near the entrance and exploded barely a meter from the Russian soldier. The explosion and its scattering of shrapnel was very heavy. The damage from the impact can also be confirmed by another Ukrainian quadcopter drone footage. This video was published by the 30th Mechanized Brigade of Ukraine on their official Telegram channel. Other drone footage also shows Russian troops abandoning their BMP-3 armored vehicles as they try to evade a mortar attack. Ukrainian troops were hiding inside abandoned houses in the Luhansk region. At the same time, the Russian BMP was approached by a Ukrainian quadcopter drone which dropped several grenades on the Russian vehicle. The grenades landed right inside the BMP through the open hatch, and the impact detonated the ammunition in an armored vehicle that completely destroys it. For sure, the Russian troops on their way back will not be easy. Ukrainian FPV drone destroys a small group of Russian troops and their equipment. In this video we present. In the drone's view, 2 Russian soldiers walked towards their tanks stationed around the Limansky district in the Donetsk region. As they got closer, the Ukrainian army's tanks launched a mortar attack and the shells landed right in front of the Russians, and this forced them to flee in the opposite direction to their tanks. We can see footage from a Ukrainian FPV drone from a special unit, the drone flying towards a Russian tank and landing on it. Although the tank was equipped with a cage, the drone managed to engage and damage the Russian tank, rendering it inoperable. After the tank was covered with fire, the only possible equipment of the Russian army was completely neutralized. This footage shows the Russian troops leaving each other as they flee from their tanks. This caused the Russian tank to stop, allegedly due to damage to its left lane, and then we can see the 3 Russian tankers opening the hatch and leaving the tank. Maybe they thought it would be safer if they ran and hid in the forest area instead of hiding in the tank. In this latest incident, Ukrainian FPV drones carried out an attack on Russian troops who were aboard their BMP armored vehicle. The released video shows the moment of the attack, in which a Ukrainian FPV drone flies towards a Russian BMP carrying Russian troops in the Donetsk region. As the drone gets closer to the Russian BMP vehicle, it can be seen that there are 8 Russian soldiers sitting on top of it. Unfortunately, the video cuts out as the drone approaches the target, indicating a possible explosion that destroyed the drone. The result of this attack was also confirmed by footage from a Ukrainian quadcopter drone, which showed the impact on the rear of the Russian vehicle. It is estimated that at least 5 Russian soldiers were injured by shrapnel. This information was disclosed by the Special Unit Omega Ukraine through their official channel on Telegram. The Ukrainian armed forces continued the offensive on Melitopol, and 16 skirmishes have taken place between the Ukrainian armed forces and Russian forces in the last 24 hours, continuing offensive operations towards Melitopol. They are entrenched within the regained boundaries. The General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces had this to say in its late-night update on Facebook. The enemy launched 9 missile strikes, and more than 49 airstrikes, carried out 40 MLRS strikes against Ukrainian troop positions. The Ukrainian Defense Forces have successfully repelled the Russian attack near Vuhledar in the Donetsk region. A relevant statement was made by the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Russian forces have launched 2 missile strikes and 62 airstrikes, and opened fire with multiple rocket launch systems on Ukrainian positions and settlements 89 times over the past day. Air defense units and means of the Ukrainian Air Force intercepted 2 enemy-caliber cruise missiles and 4 Shahed suicide drones following an attack by Russian forces. Ukrainian tanks attack Russian trenches at close range after storming the Grey Zone. 2 Ukrainian tanks successfully engaged the Russians near Bakhmut. Drone footage shows war machines hurtling into battle, the 92nd Brigade leading the charge, near Klishchivka. The tanks were able to approach the Russian position. Before opening fire with their main guns, the tanks then released smoke grenades to protect themselves. This was a far cry from the failure of the Russian offensive in the same area. The Ukrainians were able to destroy a dozen Russian vehicles. Kiev troops captured Klishchivka from the Russians last month. This gave their artillery a good position to attack Bakhmut. Ukrainian soldiers forced Russian soldiers who were in the trenches to surrender in the Bakhmut forest. The soldiers of the 3rd Assault Brigade shot into the trenches before noticing that some were still occupied. They urged the enemy soldiers to surrender, and several of their comrades were killed in the assault.